So before we even say a word, I just wanted to say that I have absolutely nothing to gain from this video. This is not the type of content that I want to be known for. If you go look at my channel or my TikTok page, you'll notice that none of my videos have anything to do with the paranormal. I have 2 videos that have to do with the paranormal. They're footage from the security cameras at work where, spooky stuff happens. But this is not the type of content I want to be known for. I have zero reason to lie. I'm not trying to get popular from paranormal stuff. So with that out of the way, let's just get right into it. So I am 21 years old at the moment, and I've had lots of paranormal experiences throughout my life, and I'm basically making this video just to not only to share my experiences with others, but to also document. And so just in case I ever forget or want to revisit these experiences, or if I never have another paranormal experience again, I don't want to just completely forget that it ever existed. These are things that I want to remember. So I figured instead of going in chronological order from first story to last story, we would go least scary to most scary. And then at the very end, we have some honorable mentions that could easily be explained as something else or weren't necessarily paranormal. No more blabbering on. Let's just get right into the first story. This story happened whenever I was 4. Being 3, 4 are the earliest memories that I have. But I have a very specific memory of being 4 years old. My grandfather on my mom's side had just passed away. We had attended his funeral just a couple of days earlier, and my mom was talking to someone on her cell phone outside while carrying me in her arms. I remember looking at our trailer that we had. The back door was like really high up off the ground, and I was wondering how anyone was supposed to access it, listening to her talk on the phone. And I decided to look up at the sky, and there was a break in the clouds where you could see the blue. And in that blue portion of the sky, I saw what looked like a yellow star twinkle, get really big, and then disappear. And without even giving it a second thought, my 4-year-old brain was like, oh, that's Pawpaw. Like, it wasn't even like oh, what is that? It was just, oh, that's Pawpaw. I just knew. Sorry if there's noise in the background. There's people pulling in. This next story occurred whenever I was 7 years old. So my family and I were big paranormal fans back in the day. We used to watch a lot of ghost adventures and ghost hunting shows on TV, and we would try to emulate that. We would turn all the lights off at nighttime and walk around with our cell phones and electronics and try to record stuff, and my parents would always mess with me and, make fake videos, and we never really captured anything serious. Nothing serious ever happened. It was all good and fun. Like, my parents were just pranking me and going along with my playing. But the only time anything ever unexplained truly happened while we were doing this ghost hunting thing was while my dad was at work. So it was just me, my mom, and my little sister, who was only 2 or 3 at the time. We were the only ones who were home, and it was daytime. It was around noon. My mom was making lunch in the kitchen. My little sister was taking a nap in the living room. So there was no one else in the house. There was no way, it could have been my mom or my sister. So I was trying to record EVPs in my bedroom. I had the little audio recorder on my BlackBerry phone with all the buttons on the screen recording in my bedroom while my mom was cooking, and I told her that I was doing that, and I left it in there for a good 5 minutes while I was talking to my mom in the kitchen. And when I went back to go check the recording was only 1 second long, I had noticed. So I was like, ugh, of course, it's messed up. And when I listened to the recording, it was, I promise you, it was not me, my mom, or my little sister's voice. But on the recording, it sounded like a really sped up voice that went, I'm not afraid. But when you decoded it, it's like, I'm not afraid. And it was 1000% none of our voices. Like, my mom doesn't sound like that. Like, even if you sped up her voice, neither did I. We all talked very, very country, and, we did not sound like that. It was none of our voices. My phone was really far away from us. There's no way that it picked up any of our voices in the first place. I had my bedroom door closed. And so the next less spooky story happened whenever I was 11 or 12. So we were staying over at my grandparents' house, my little brother, my little sister, and I. At this point, my sister was probably 8, 7. My little brother was 4, maybe 3. It was really early in the morning. I had decided to go take a walk outside. My grandma was the only one in the house awake. My dad, my sister, and my little brother were asleep. Oh, yeah, I meant to say, I said my grandparents' house, but it was my grandma's house, and my dad lived with her. My grandpa had passed away years earlier. This is my other grandpa. Sorry for the confusions. But I was walking outside. in the front yard, right near the living room where my brother was taking a nap on the couch. And as I was walking, I heard my little brother say, "Brother." That's what he calls me. He doesn't call me by my name. I was like, honestly, I got annoyed, which is very sad, but I got annoyed. I was like, I got to go back in and see what he wants. So I took my time strolling back up to the back door to go inside and see what he wanted. And I walked inside and he was still asleep. So I asked my grandma if he woke up and said my name, and she said he hasn't budged. And she said she never said my name. So, I mean, I could have been hearing things, but like my little brother called for me and he was asleep. It wasn't my sister. She was also asleep. So was my dad. Like, they hadn't budged. My grandma said none of them said anything. But it was 100% my little brother's voice. You know, he talks with a lisp. He can't pronounce his R's too well. So he was like, "Brother." It was definitely him, but he was asleep. And I've never been one to experience any like hallucinations or anything like that. I've only experienced a hallucination once. It was as I was falling asleep, I saw a spider crawling as I was like dozing off, but that's like normal, and I was just walking outside, so you know. We have only two more lesser spooky stories. So the next lesser spooky story takes place when I was also 12. I was sitting alone one night in my bedroom, awake way past my bedtime on my tablet, watching YouTube videos as I wasn't supposed to do. My window was open. I was a big moth person, so I was trying to attract moths inside of my house. And, you know, as I said, I'm a big insect person, so I've had moths of all different sizes, giant beetles, praying mantises, every bug possible has landed on my head before and started like flapping around and got stuck on there. Like, I know what an insect feels like on my head, believe it or not. But I was sitting there with my headphones on, and, you know, I just passed it off as like a bug landed on my head at the time, and I was trying not to be scared because it was pretty spooky. But I was just sitting there with my headphones on, and I felt what definitely felt like a hand go like this and then start flailing around. Like, I felt a head very heavy, like, on my head. And I assumed it was a bug, but as I sat there and thought about it for a second, I was like, well, that was very heavy and like warm, and I didn't see any bugs in my bedroom. Like, I was looking around, there was no insects in there. And so, you know, that was very, very strange. And in that same house, actually, this is another story. My whole family was asleep. My mom, her boyfriend, my sister, my little brother were all in our rooms. Some of us were asleep, some of us were not. But in the middle of us just chilling in our bedrooms, there was a huge, loud bang that sounded like it came from the refrigerator. It didn't sound like anything spilled, but it sounded like someone hauled off and like punched the refrigerator as hard as they could or slammed it over. But, you know, nothing happened, and we always joked that house was haunted because we could hear like footsteps, and we always felt like a weird presence in there. And the very final lesser spooky story before we get into the serious stuff is I was at my mom's boyfriend's house one day. I was 18 years old in this story. I was brushing my teeth one night, and as I walked into the bathroom to start brushing my teeth, I turned around mid-brush, and the hallway light had turned on by itself. There was 1000% no one else there. My mom and her boyfriend were the only ones awake, and they were in their rooms. I would have definitely heard them walking. It's a very creaky house, and it was very far away. Like, the light switch was right, like, outside the door anyway. So yeah, that was strange, but, you know, those experiences they could possibly be something else. They're not as, they're a little more unexplained than the stories I have at the end. But now we're getting into the serious stuff. So, the scariest, most, like, 100% unexplainable, guaranteed paranormal sighting that I've had was whenever I was 7 years old. My house had just burned down, and my family had moved into a motel for a while it was getting rebuilt, and we didn't really like the motel, so we moved into an apartment temporarily. A very small apartment in actually the town that I'm living in now, in St. Paul, Virginia. We moved into this small apartment, and we set it up nicely. Everything was going great for a little while. One day, around 8 p.m., my mom and my little sister were sitting on the couch behind me. My brother hadn't been thought of at this point. My dad was at work, and we were waiting on him to come home. I remember very specifically, I was playing a Wally game for the PS2, and I was driving Wally around on the spaceship and like interacting with Mo, and, you know, I was stuck on this one little level that I couldn't get past. I remember very specifically. Um, the living room light was on, the kitchen light was off, and the living room light was shining into the kitchen so you could see, like, into the kitchen. We were on the second floor also, by the way, so, you know, no one could have gotten to the house. There was zero signs of a break-in. And at the back of the kitchen were these cabinets. I was looking at the cabinets, and then there was my bedroom. And the house was set up sort of strange. So from the living room, you had the front door, the living room, and there was a hallway that went this way where you didn't have to go through the kitchen. You could go directly to my bedroom, and my parents' bedroom and the bathroom were along this hallway also. And so I was sitting in front of the TV, had a direct view of the kitchen to my left. I was playing my game, and I remember I was going out of the level that I was stuck on because, you know, I was getting fed up with it. And I got a strong urge to look over in the kitchen. And I looked over, and I saw what looked like the shadow of a person against the cabinets in the background. Like there was a counter here, and then like the cabinets up here. So it looked like it was standing in front of the cabinets, like not bending with the cabinets and the counter. But it looked like the shadow of a person standing there. And I don't know if it was just my childhood brain, but I've always, ever since it happened, remembered it looking like a person on a bathroom sign. Had a very rounded head, and it didn't seem to be like fully attached to the body, and its limbs were very, very rounded off. It was a silhouette of a person. It wasn't exactly like a person. But I was very confused, and I was trying to like piece together what I was seeing in my mind. And so I turned my head and like leaned forward a little bit to fully grasp what I was seeing. And I swear on everything, it literally bent over sideways and waved at me. And the fear that went through my body, I'm getting chills now just thinking about it. I ran and screamed and jumped on the couch, and I almost jumped on my baby sister. And I was like hyperventilating, and I told my mom there was someone in the house because I just saw like a person, but she wouldn't look. No windows were open or broken in. There was no footprints. Nothing was missing. We were on the second floor, and the only staircase was access to our room. So there was no chance that anyone could have got in through the windows or like snuck in through our door. Our door was right in there with us, and our apartments were connected, but there were no windows or doors connecting apartments, no crawl spaces. There was zero way that anyone could have been in there. We heard like my mom found nothing, heard nothing. And the entire rest of the time we lived there, I refused to go in the kitchen. Anytime I had to traverse through the house, I would go through that little hallway part that went in the back. And you know, I was fully awake. My mom remembers this. My sister was too young, unfortunately, but my dad definitely remembers coming home to me freaking out and telling him what I saw. He even went and checked to make sure like there was no signs of a break-in. Nobody found anything. But it was pitch black. Like there was zero detail, zero nothing. No, it wasn't smoky. It was just pitch black, and it looked like the person on a bathroom sign. But yeah, that was the only like genuine, like no other explanation. Like that was the scariest moment of my life, to be honest. Like I've never been more scared in my life than that day. 7 years old. So now anytime I get like I think there's something paranormal gonna happen, and I hear a creak, I scream like a girl. I'm not sticking around for that. The only other story that I have that's really more scary is whenever I was 11 or 12 years old. My little brother was 3 or 4 at the time. My little sister had a Betty Boop doll, and you could like mash her stomach and she would sing. She was like a talking doll. She would sing a song. But for some reason, my little brother was absolutely terrified of that doll. Beyond explanation. He was so scared of that doll that if you held it near him, he would run away crying. And my sister thought it was funny. Me and my mom were like, oh, well, we need to get rid of that doll. But we didn't want to just throw away my sister's toys, so we left it in the house. My little brother was constantly having nightmares of this doll. He would always wake up and say that it like tried to get him in his dreams, and he saw it in his dreams, and it was really scary. And we didn't know what to do. So one day my mom went to go clean my sister's bedroom, pick up her toys, and she said the doll started singing on its own. And I actually saw the doll sing on its own one time too. I was going to the bathroom, because the bathroom you had to go through my sister's room to get to. It was a very strange layout in that house. So I was walking through my sister's room, it started going off on its own in the toy box, but I didn't think anything of it. Like, I wasn't scared or like, ooh, that's paranormal. I was just like, huh, that's weird. But once it went off on my mom, she decided to throw it away without saying anything to my sister or my brother. She threw it away, took it to the dumpster the same day. It was out of the house. Immediately, my little brother's nightmares just went away. He never, like, we didn't tell him, and they just completely stopped. He never mentioned it again. No one really noticed that the doll was gone, and my mom didn't tell us for a month or two later. So yeah, guys, that's all the real, like, genuine, unexplained paranormal stories that I have. And now for some honorable mentions. These stories could be explained as something else, or you know, the first one's a dream, so that sort of gives the gist of these stories. So this one, it's a dream. So dreams, you know, they're just in your head, they're made up. But I personally believe that dreams are connected to reality in a way. Like, sometimes you can have a dream, and that dream will manifest into reality, or you can have a dream that's sort of like a vision of what's going to happen. For example, I was having multiple dreams about wrecking a car leading up to my first car wreck. And I also had multiple dreams about getting pulled over leading up to the first time I got pulled over. Not to say there's anything behind this, but you know, it's just a personal belief. And there's also many cases of people having the same dream at the same time, or dreams that are connected with each other. So I personally think that there's something to dreams. So this dream that I had was the only lucid dream that I've ever had. I've only had one lucid dream. And if you don't know, a lucid dream is a dream where you're aware that you're dreaming and you can control yourself in your dream. Like, you're like, oh, this is a dream. I'm going to walk around and explore my dream. Never happened before or since. I was 14 at the time. And in this dream, I was walking along the road to Walmart that's a couple towns over from me. It's like a little back road away from the interstate. So I was walking along this back road carrying a fishing pole, and I was looking over at the sky. The sky was pitch black, but in the distance there looked like explosions going on and like multiple colors in the background. So I was like, huh, what's going on over there? And then I looked in front of me and I saw Walmart, and I was like, wait, I'm dreaming. And I realized I could control myself, but I was like, well, I mean, and I realized I could control myself in my dream. I could go wherever I wanted to go. But if I let myself go limp, I would automatically start walking against my will. So I was like, well, I mean, I want to go this way anyway, so I'm just going to let myself walk. And I was like walking around being like, whoa, this is so cool. Like, I'm aware that I'm dreaming. Like, I've never done this before. And I got closer to Walmart. And this Walmart's connected to a Dollar Tree and a bunch of other stores. It's a rent-a-center in between the Walmart and the Dollar Tree. And as I got closer to the Dollar Tree, the parking lot was empty. I noticed that there was a little girl standing there. She looked very scared. And I felt sad in my dream because I thought she was scared of me. And keep in mind, I was fully lucid at the time, like I was controlling myself. And I was like, oh, well, I don't want her to be scared of me. So I walked up and I was like, hey, you don't got to be scared of me. I'm not going to hurt you. And these are her exact words. She said, it's not you, he. And she pointed behind me. And I turned and looked, and there was a dark, black, smoky shadow figure standing there with smoke rising off of it, like in a horror movie or something. And I was fully lucid at the time. But my body automatically, I got very angry at this shadow figure for harassing the little girl. So I ran and jumped on it, and just as I made contact, I woke up and I had chills for hours, like genuinely hours. Like, that was the like, I'm not talking like scared chills, like the chills you get in your body when you're like you get spooked. Like, I had those chills just like staying in my body. Yeah, that was very freaky. But you know, it was a dream, so you never know. But in my personal opinion, I think I may have you know, saved a little girl from like a demon that was harassing her or something. I mean, local hero here. The last story is kind of funny. I honestly think that's all the stories that I have. Like, that's everything paranormal that's ever happened to me in my life. My mom has a lot of interesting stories, actually. I would love to get her to tell her stories one day. Yeah, that's honestly everything. Like, I have nothing else to say. Like, but this last story is a funny one, so stick around if you want to hear it. I was sleeping in my bed one night. I was 12 years old. Mine and my sister's room were connected. Um, my room had the bathroom in it. That was like where you had to walk through my sister's room to get to the bathroom. At the time of the other story, it wasn't my bedroom. But I was sleeping in my bedroom, trying to go to sleep, and I randomly started hearing what sounded like my name being called. It sounded like it was going, William, William. And I was laying in my bed, like shivering under my blanket in fear, like terrified to even raise my head up. And I lay there for a good 45 minutes or more, just scared out of my mind, hearing my name being called. And I was trying to like peek into the bathroom. I didn't see anything. And amidst my terror, I eventually worked up the courage to raise up. And so I shot up out of my blanket and looked around. Still didn't see anything, but I kept hearing the noise. And so I got up to look around, and I realized it was just my sister snoring the whole time. But yeah, guys, that's every story that I have. I have nothing else to say. Again, like, I don't want to be known for like paranormal content. I mean, I wouldn't mind starting like a ghost hunting channel, but I genuinely don't want to be known for this. Like, if you go look at my channels, they're prank videos and like skits. I have nothing to do with the paranormal. But yeah, I just wanted to share this and, you know, sort of document it for future me if I ever want to revisit these stories or if I ever forget these stories. Um, yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in. I appreciate it more than you know. Check out my other content, and I mean, maybe I'll get my mom to share her stories, or maybe I'll have more stories in the future. I kind of hope not. I mean, I kind of hope so. Like, deep inside, I kind of hope so. Like, a sick part of me, but I kind of hope, but I hope not. Yeah, thank you guys. Peace.